Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond, and I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, holistic nutritionist, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And welcome to the show. If this is your first time joining us, you are now officially part of the How Now family. And we are in season 6 of the How Now podcast. And this year, our focus is on execution. Last year, in 2025, we did the 365-day challenge, where I challenged my listeners to find and create healthy habits, mind, body, and spirit, so that way they can create the best versions of themselves. And this year is the year of execution, taking those things that we placed in our mental, spiritual, and toolboxes and bringing them to fruition and manifesting them through the things that we've learned and through the healthy habits that we've created. So, with that being said, there are 4 segments that we are doing for 2026. And one of those segments is Living Your Purpose with Jason Gerardo, where we're taking his bridge technique, and that's an acronym, where he's talking about different ways that we can live our purpose. And then the second segment that we have this year is Financial Fitness with Leah Garcia, where she's showing us how to be financially fit so that we can make decisions that are going to better our way of living or create a better space of creating that financial fitness. Okay. And then we have 12 Spiritual Principles with Dr. Reginald Howard, where he highlights a different spiritual luminary that represents a spiritual principle. And we have been going through the principles each month until we get to the end of the year, which will be our 12th spiritual principle. And then our final segment is Spirit Body Transformation. And that's where I share my wellness journey and talk about ways that we can help ourselves physically and through health and through nutrition. And I also will have special guests that will be joining us, like we're going to be having this evening, where we're talking about ways in which we can have overall wellness. Okay. And so if you are new to the show, again, I want to make sure that you go to my website, and I have a new website. Okay. And in this new website, we're going to be talking about, wait, hold on a moment. Looks like it's stuck. There we go. It didn't want to come on there. There we go. My new website, which is How Now Podcast. Okay, make sure that you go to that website. And then once you're there, scroll down a little bit and click on the icon that you see right here where it talks about living in the now. And you'll find out about the products and services that I have available through Redefining You. And you'll also find out some information about the How Now podcast. You scroll down a little further to the page and you'll see the banner for this week's show. And when you click on that, it will take you to the How Now YouTube channel, where you can check out my playlist like Tuesday, where I share a scripture verse every Tuesday. You could check out the playlist for the shows that you may have missed over the last 5 seasons and all things that are going on in my now. So again, you go to hownowpodcast.com, or you can freeze the screen here, click on the QR code, and it will take you straight to my website. Okay, so we're excited about this evening and what we're going to be talking about. And to help me is my guest. Okay, he is no stranger to the How Now podcast. He's been on the show before. And as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have him introduce himself at this time. Take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Kim, for the fabulous introduction. My name is Kelley Gilberry, your certified holistic nutritionist, just like Kim is. I specialize in helping people who have type 2 diabetes and they feel that they're trapped inside of the blood sugar matrix because I once suffered from that condition. I had type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and I was obese, all three. The triple whammy, as I like to call it.
Right.
So now that I've reversed the conditions, I totally got rid of those conditions. Now my job is to help other people who I see that are struggling. Like, listen, you don't need to struggle with that condition anymore because type 2 diabetes, heart disease, having excess weight, being obese, just like I was, that's like all those conditions are completely reversible if you're willing to do the work. So that is why I created a lot of my programs. So a lot of my program, all my programs actually, are designed to help the person who is struggling specifically with high blood sugar on how to basically escape the blood sugar matrix. So that's kind of what I specialize in.
Absolutely. I am thrilled to have you back. I'm glad to see you back on the show. It's an honor to share space with you again. And as Kelley mentioned, we are both holistic nutritionists, and we participated in the same program. And so, there are a lot of things and ideals that we share as we've both been on our wellness journey. I am a type 2 diabetic as well, and was overweight, and it's definitely a journey. And so I've brought Kelley on the show this evening because it is Men's Health Month. It's Men's Mental Health Month, and I really want to talk about the importance of health and how it's not just a physical aspect. There is a mental aspect that goes along with this as well. And so in honor of Men's Health Month, I really wanted him to chime in and talk about, the importance of not just the physical, but the mental aspects that come along with our wellness. So with that being said, let's just talk a little bit about your initial journey. What caused you to, or what happened to make you, consider making changes in your health status at that time?
Yeah. Go back to 2020, 2019. 2019, my mother she was here one day, boom, gone the next day. So she passed away from a heart attack. So she was here one day, literally 2019, here one day, gone the next day. And then 2 months after she passed away, I go and I get my own diagnosis for the same condition that she just passed away from. So insulin resistance, basically, or metabolic syndrome. So type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and I was obese, all three. And when my mother passed away, she came to me in a dream about a few months later and told me that I had the ability to be able to help other people heal. Like she said, like, you're the one who is, this is why you were put on this planet, is to help other people who are suffering specifically from all these chronic health conditions. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, because keep in mind, when she came to me in the dream, I'm obese. I got type 2 diabetes and I got heart disease. Like, what do I know about healing anybody?
Right.
So some more, long story short, basically, at the time, my wife's uncle came to live with us. And the reason he came to live with us is because they gave him 2 months to live because of his cancer had came back. So a cancer came back, and it was he was in remission before, but it came back, and then boom, 2 months to live. So he was living with us because MD Anderson, biggest cancer hospital in the world, is here in Houston. And so I was his caretaker for the last 5 months of his life. So I seen what happens when a condition will take you out quickly, like that with my mother. And then I also saw something that will take you out very, very slowly, right? It's a grueling process. So when he passed away, he ended up living for 5 months. So when he passed away, like, Dad, I instantly knew what that dream meant when my mother told me that I had the ability to heal. So that was it. So in 2021, I decided to go on a mission to first transform my own health, reverse type 2 diabetes, reverse the heart disease, lose all the weight. That was my job in 2021. Now in 2022, since I started my company, and I've been on the mission ever since to help other people do the same, who are willing, right? Who are willing to say, yeah, I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do what's required. I'm willing to do it naturally. Like, let's go. So up until this point, it's been over 600 people that I've helped, in the last 4 years.
Wow. Awesome. That is awesome. And that's definitely a testimony to the hard work that I'm sure was required for you to be able to, start that journey. Everybody's journey starts differently and for different reasons, and when a situation comes up, sometimes it can be drastic or dramatic, like your experience, or it can just be someone who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, so to speak. They're in this space where they're just like, I can't do the things I used to do, and now I'm in this space, and what do I do with that? So I know your background a little bit. Now, you were in the military, correct?
I was. Yeah, I was in the Navy for 12 years.
Yes, and so I'm sure that you, unlike myself, you had a point of reference. You were in a space where at one point you were, I'm sure, more physically fit than you were at that time when your mom passed. And so, it was just a matter of, hey, I can go back to where I was. But I think of like a person in my situation where I was always overweight and had to just say, okay, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, I put in the work. So how much of your military background, was instrumental in you being able to make that change?
Zero, right? Yeah,
Wow.
right. Because that's a big. I mean, I get what you're saying. A lot of people believe that, but I was in the Navy. I was in the Navy, and one thing that is physical fitness is not. If you ever seen the sailors, a lot of sailors are overweight, and yeah, because
Wow.
that's all we do is drink and party, right? And then
Wow.
we got to work out twice a year. So that's a big misconception, right? So, and in the military, I was struggling with my weight too. Towards the end of my career, I started struggling. I got out of the military when I was 30. So all through my 20s, I was good. But when I went towards the end, I started to, my weight started to creep up a little bit. And then when I got out of the military at the age of 30, that is when my weight, I didn't even have to stay within standards at then. I was just trying to stay within weight standards. But when I got out, it was just like no holds barred. Like there's no one holding me back. I'm gonna eat whatever I want, whenever I want,
Right.
however I want. But yeah, so when I was in the military, it's like I said, for the Navy, it's different than maybe like the Marines or the
Right.
Army. We are super undisciplined in the Navy.
Yeah, well, and that's good to know, because that's the thing. We make assumptions, especially, and again, because we're talking about men's health, there are some misconceptions. And that's something that, people think, oh, you were in the military. So I'm sure people were, like you said, were looking at you and saying, hey, man, just do what you were doing before. And you know what the drill is. And like you said, it's a different experience, especially from the male perspective. So I'm glad that you do bring that to the attention, because I would have thought the same thing. I would have said, hey, this is, he's ex-military, he's disciplined. And it just goes to show that even when you are disciplined, to a certain extent, you can still fall back. You don't always stay disciplined. Like you said, once you were finished, or once you completed your time in the military, I mean in the in the military, you were like, oh, no holds bar, I can do what I want to do.
Yeah, when you're in the
So
military, they make you do it. When you're in the military,
mm,
so they make you do it, right? So even if it's against when they jump, you got to say how high.
right,
So when I got out of the Navy, it was I can jump and say however high I want. I can do whatever I want.
right,
Right?
right,
So
right.
yeah, you're right. That's a big misconception that people in the military are disciplined. Not everybody in the military. It's forced discipline. They force you to be disciplined.
Mm,
So when you get out, the number one thing that you do is you go back to your comfort zone.
right,
So go
right.
back to your comfort zone, and the comfort zone is a beautiful place.
Yes, it is. Because
Oh yeah.
right, like you said, there's no expectation there. You can do things the way you want to do things. And it's, I think the same holds true when you're talking about your wellness journey, because we can be disciplined to a certain degree, and then something can happen that kind of takes us off course, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, something can definitely happen to take you off course. You could be on your wellness journey, and life starts lifing, as I say. Life starts lifing. And now you got to navigate your way around. Say like you want to lose 20 pounds, or you wanted to reverse type 2 diabetes, and then all of a sudden something happens in your life. Maybe you get laid off from work, or this or that, and life starts life. And as I say, and then the question is, how are you going to navigate around that? Are you
Right.
gonna give up now because you got a little bit of adversity, or you're gonna push through it and keep it moving and accomplish your goal? anyway. So that's at a crossroads. A lot of people get at that crossroads where either you're going to keep going, or because there's like a halfway, or like a turn back moment. Turn back and say, yeah, I'm at that point now. I should probably turn back. Or you're at that point where, like, I've already gone too far. I've gone like 70% of the way. Like, there's no need for me to turn back now. So I'm gonna keep it moving right to the finish line. So yeah, those turn back moments are real.
Yeah. And I think that, a wellness journey is something that I don't think necessarily has an end date, because just like you said, there are some things that life is going to life. As you get older, there are going to be certain things that your body was doing in your 20s that your body is not doing so well in your 30s or in your 40s, 50s, and so on. So there are a lot of things that can come in. And I think that's where those healthy habits, begin to come into play, because now you're in a space where, you almost do get into a comfort zone. You go, okay, I've significantly lost this weight at this particular stage, and everything is going well. And then all of a sudden, something may happen physically where, now you can't do things. You may have had an injury, and now the exercise that you were doing, now you can't do that. Or you may develop a food allergy, and something that was your go-to is no longer your go-to. So, let's talk a little bit about those things, some of those things where all of a sudden your body is making changes, and the importance of trying to create habits that are going to help you get back on track.
Reasons. The simple answer is reasons. Reasons come first. A lot of people have, like you said, like when life's going to be life, and this happens, that happens, and something happens. The thing is, you got to have enough reasons. If you don't have enough reasons, you're just going to quit. You're going to give up, right? So I always say reasons come first, answers come second. If you've got enough reasons, you can do the most incredible things. If you've got enough reasons, you can do that. I promise you. That is the reason why, when I tell you about my story, how I reversed type 2 diabetes, and how I had heart disease, and how I was obese, and all of that stuff, type 2 diabetes and all that stuff, I would have never did those. I would have never did that. I promise you, I wouldn't. Had my mother not passed away, I would have never done any of that. I'd still be, to this day, I'd still be obese. I'd still have type 2 diabetes, and I'd probably still have heart disease. Heck, I probably wouldn't even be here. Right? Probably wouldn't be here, because that's the name of my first book. The name of my first book is called Plants Saved My Life. So I say all that to say is I had enough reasons. My reason was called anger. I was angry because my mother passed away. So every time I would think of something, I think of my mother being in a coffin or in a tomb, and doing my weight loss transformation. That just fueled me. Anger. Like I want to hit the bag that much harder. Or if I'm tired, I don't care about being tired. Anger fueled me to go run another mile. Right. Wow. Or anger fueled me to work out 6 days a week. Like I wouldn't normally be working out 6 days a week and eating clean food all the time and eating real food. I wouldn't be doing that. I would have been eating McDonald's and all that stuff every day. But the reason that I did all that stuff is because I had enough reasons. And if you've got enough reasons, I promise you can do the most incredible things. Now, on the other side of that, if you do not have enough reasons, like we talked about earlier, comfort will keep calling your name. You're going to realize that comfort is a beautiful place. The comfort zone is a beautiful place. It's beautiful like that. Birds are chirping, all that, everything's chirping. But the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but the only thing that grows there is regret. That is the only thing that grows inside of the comfort zone is regret. So that's what I learned.
In comfort grows regret. Yeah.
The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but the only thing that grows there is regret.
Yeah. Had to let that marinate for a minute, because it is. That's true. And I had to write that down as well, because like you said, when we're there, we don't think about anything, being wrong or anything, I think the interesting thing that you said is that, anger fueled you to do the things that you needed to do to remain well, Where on the flip side, we see so many people that when they have that type or that level of stress, that what happens is that causes them to go for those comfort foods or go for those comfort things, or to revert back to where it feels quote unquote safe. And I usually anger, may fuel people to do things that are not the best for them. But in your instance, it worked towards, motivating you to be things. So, it's interesting how different reactions or different emotions will evoke different things in different people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, someone else could have, just like you said, they could have just folded and just went into their comfort zone, and it was eating ho Twinkies and ding dongs and all that stuff all day, and just eating and eating and eating and eating. But I think it would have probably been to be honest with you, Kim, I think it would have been the same thing for me. I think I probably would have folded had my mother not come to me in that dream and told me what my purpose was. Right. If she told me what my purpose was, and it didn't make any sense. It literally, and she came to me in early 2020 in that dream, and it did not make any sense until my wife's uncle passed away in November, later that year, at the end of the year. That was when it was like, boom, it was like the dream was crystal clear. I knew exactly what that dream meant. And that's kind of what fueled me. But had I not had that dream and she came to me and told me this, and my ability and my purpose, I would have folded too. I would have just, like I told you before, I'd still be obese. I'd still be all of that stuff. Yeah. I'd still have heart disease. I'd still have type 2 diabetes. I'd still have it all. I can promise you I would, because I know my personality. My personality is, like you said, is just even now I fight the comfort zone. Even now, like now, I just want to sit. If it were up to me, I would literally sit on the couch all day, literally, and binge watch Netflix and binge watch all of my favorite shows, and with the remote in my hand and one of my favorite snacks, and just enjoy the day in my recliner. That will be my choice. Okay. Even still to this day, that's my choice, but I have to fight that urge every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important to that you highlight that, because it's about choices. We have the ability to choose to live a healthy lifestyle, but as you say, we can also choose to revert back to, again, what's comfortable, to revert back to things that are more familiar, that don't require us to have to work so hard. Because that's the one thing in our wellness journey, and it's different for men and for women. Sometimes women feel the pressure, of body image. And because we see so many things, on, in social media, in our daily lives, as we're walking the street, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, and we're constantly being challenged with the pressure of looking like this particular person or that particular person, and not really, seeking to be, the best versions of ourselves. So, I really like that you talk about that it is a choice. We're choosing to do what's best for us, and it's going to look different for everybody else. And I'm sure that you've seen that even with your clients, as that they're not going to do things or see things in the way that you do. That's why we promote, what is it that you're seeking to do for yourself? Because again, like you said, it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that up about choices, right? I'm going to say something. This is one of my most, some people love it. Some people hate it, but it's the truth, right? And here it is. When we're born, we look like our parents.
Right.
But when we die, we look like our choices.
Bam.
It's exactly who we look like. You look exactly like your choices.
That's
when you pass away. Yeah, you born, you look like your mom, your dad, your great aunt Sally, whoever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when it's all over, you look exactly like your choices. That's who you look like.
Yeah. And like you said, it's important to focus on the reasons. Again, another way that's gonna be said is your why. Why are you doing the things that you're doing, and what's your motivation?
Reasons.
And that looks different for everyone, like you said, what is your reason? What is your rationale behind why, you feel that it's important to continue in this journey or not? Again,
And you got to have reason. If you don't have reasons, you said or not. If you don't have reasons, I promise you, you will choose the or not. If you do not have the real reasons, like like a real burning desire, real reason as to why you will want to do this, or as far as your health journey is concerned, I promise you, when adversity comes, you will stop. You will quit. You will go back to what's comfortable because you don't have enough reasons. And the comfort zone, like I said, is a beautiful place.
And it can be, and a dangerous one, like you said. But again, this is Men's Health Month, and so again, I want the focus to be on that specifically, because like I said, it looks different for women than it does for men. What do you think is something that when you have those moments of like, I've been doing this for a while, what is something that kind of how do I want to say this? What is something that can be a deterrent for you, when it comes to maintaining your wellness journey? What's a challenge sometimes that you face?
Convenience is a heck of a thing, right? Convenience. Because here's the thing, I'm going to tell you about human beings. Convenience, like food convenience, still like, takeout, whatever. Like I like, I'll have some takeout, right? But here's the thing I learned about human beings. Human beings want to do three things. Number one is we want to seek pleasure. We want to avoid pain. That's number two. And then we want to choose the path of least resistance. So convenience is it's a whole heck of a thing, right? Because you're like, yo, it's easy, because that's in our nature to choose the path of least resistance. Like, I want to go cook and prepare all these vegetables and prepare this nice clean eating. Why do I want to prepare these foods and wash these vegetables and do all that stuff when I can simply go right across the street and go over there and get me some Chinese food right now?
Right.
I can go get that quick, fast, and I ain't got to worry about cooking none of that stuff. And so convenience is, like I said, the comfort zone. So beautiful thing. So that's my big thing is convenience. It's not necessarily like calling like the old foods and all that stuff. Like that stuff really doesn't call my name. It's just more so the convenience of it, the daily grind to say, hey, yeah, okay, let's do some meal prepping for this week, or let's make planning ahead.
Yes.
That's against our nature. That's against human nature. Humans don't want to plan. Humans don't want to think. Humans don't want to do any of that. We want to use the least amount of brain power possible, because we want to stay. We want to preserve our energy in our brain, like preserve energy in our body, but specifically in our brain. That's why when things are complicated, things are like if you're talking to a doctor and they're trying to explain your condition to you, but they're being super scientific. You like. You got to use too much brain power. Or if you see an ad and then if you see an ad for something, you just like, man, that was a really complicated. I don't know what they were talking about on. I don't know. Right. Right. What was that about? So you got to use too much brain power. If you use too much brain power, human beings go, they go the other way.
Right.
So cooking and preparing ahead and doing all that stuff, that takes a lot of brain power. So human beings do not want to do that. So that's the hardest part for me. It's just, like I said before, I told you, if it were up to me, I would literally sit on the couch literally all day. I'm not even joking when I say that.
But it's the reasons that keep you.
It's the reasons that keep me. The reasons that keep me going
in the right
direction. If I didn't have enough reasons, I promise you, we probably wouldn't be on this call right now. I'd be on the couch.
And I love that. I love that you're candid about that, because that's the truth. People think that people are nutritionists and people that work out and people who, are coaches don't need to be coached ourselves. We fall into the categories, like you said, of avoiding convenience. I said, it's interesting that you say that convenience is the biggest thing. That's for me too. It's the meal prep. I'm being transparent. It's the meal prep. If I had somebody who could prepare the meals for me, I would eat, healthy all the time. If all I got to do is just put the food in my mouth, but because I have to sit there and chop and cut and prepare and get all of this Tupperware and glassware, whatever to try to put it. It's too much.
It feels uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable, doesn't it?
Yes,
It does.
does.
And that goes against our nature. That goes against. So we want to three things. We want to choose maximum pleasure. We want to avoid pain. So chopping up all those vegetables and doing all that stuff, that's painful. And prepping and all that stuff, like that's painful. Nobody wants to do that. And then we want to choose the path of least resistance. When I say choose the path of least resistance, I give people an example of, let's just say if you would lose 100 pounds. They say, okay, in 6 months, you're going to lose 100 pounds. But there's two ways to lose 100 pounds. Number one way is to watch Netflix. You watch Netflix and maybe you take a GLP-1 or something or whatever kind of medication. That medication, you're going to lose 100 pounds in 6 months. That's option number one. Now, option number two is you got to go work out with some Marines. Like they get and you work it out with some Navy SEALs, and you doing this for 6 months. And you guys are eating right. You guys are working out. You guys are like carrying boats and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But you're still going to lose 100 pounds both ways. Which one would people choose?
People are going to choose to sit on the couch.
Sit on the couch.
They're going to choose it, and take the shot and just be like, okay. Because like you said, it doesn't require you to do more than you need to do.
Doesn't require anything. You just
doesn't require
any brain power, doesn't require any extra energy. It just all you do is move the remote with your hand, your thumb. That's the only energy it requires. Right. So people are going to choose the path of least resistance. People tell me, when I say that to people, they'll be like, I'm going to choose number 2 to go work out with the Marines. I'm like, come on, no, you're not. Stop. Come on, bro. Be real.
Right. It's about being honest with ourselves and others.
Yeah.
That is something that is so critical, and it's something that we don't do. And a lot of it does have to do with us being honest with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Is this something, even though we want to be healthy, we want to live healthy, we want to work out and be the best versions of ourselves. In all honesty, like you said, if we had the choice to go the other way, we'd go the other way. We start out strong. I think we all do. When we're starting our wellness journey, we start out strong. We've got in our mind that we're going to do this. I'm going to do this. You do it for a certain period of time, but eventually you get tired. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think about my journey for 2 years. I was writing down everything that I ate every single day. For 2 years, I have the journals with all of the pages of everything I ate every single day for 2 years. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm tired of writing this down. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of this. But I was trying to determine, because I traveled so much, I was trying to determine, when I eat a certain way, or when I eat certain things, what happens as I'm traveling, or what happens when I'm at home. And so, it was a bit of a study for myself. But then I got to the place where I was like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. I've gathered enough information. And then, I noticed that after I stopped doing that, my eating habits changed a little too, because I didn't feel like I was on the hook for it. Mm. I didn't have anybody to answer to. And so then I was like, oh, now I don't have to answer. I don't have to do this.
How did you feel during that time when you noticed that transition, that I don't have to answer anybody anymore? Like, how did you feel internally? Do you remember how you felt internally, where you felt like I'm just kind of like no holds barred, basically, or like, how did you feel in that time?
I was like, well, you know what? I can splurge a little here. I can do a little here because nobody's watching. I just felt like I didn't have to be so stringent, and was
it a freeing feeling? Was it a freeing feeling?
It was a comfortable feeling, like you said. Okay. I just felt comfortable. It was like, because especially when you're working with a coach or you're working with someone, you feel like, it's that level of accountability. Mm-hmm. And that's when we talk about accountability partners and people, because when you feel like you're accountable to someone, you don't want to look bad in front of them. That's where, and I'm sure for me, there's an ego. There's that ego that comes in and says, no, I'm not going to have anybody see me slipping. They're going to see me being my best. Oh, they're going to see me doing my best. But when that stage was over, I was like, not so much. I don't have to answer to anybody. Nobody's holding me accountable but me. So I'm gonna give myself some grace, and I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna go ahead and have that Rice Krispie treat, or I'm gonna go ahead and have that little cookie or something like that, because nobody's watching. So it's amazing how we do things differently when we think no one is watching.
That's because the number one human instinct that, like I told you before, is to what? Seek pleasure. Seek pleasure is the number one human instinct. We're human animals, as I call it. So seek pleasure, avoid pain, and then choose the path of least resistance. So if you feel like, hey, I want to eat something and no one's watching me, and this, like, that's pleasurable for me. That, like, it's kind of like a little dopamine hit.
Right. Because that's exactly what those things do. It gives us that kick. It gives us that little that feeling of pleasure, that feeling of satisfaction. And it's because we've been conditioned as a society to relate, things to food. Everything's life, death, celebration, everything is related to food.
Everything.
And how it makes us feel,
How it makes you
think
feel.
about when we go someplace and the food is not good. Then all of a sudden our whole mood changes because the food wasn't good. We've been conditioned to associate our emotions with that food.
You're absolutely right. It goes even back deep. I think it goes even back deeper than that, to childhood. Like, what did you eat growing up as a child? Like, your culture as in, like, say, like in our community, maybe we eat some soul food. Like, hey, listen, soul food. Like, hey, I'm gonna eat soul food because that's. And somebody tell you like, yo, no, bro, you probably shouldn't be eating soul food. And you know what I mean? And then you're gonna get offended, right? Or somebody grew up in an Indian culture and they have they Indian food. That's what they grew up on, and somebody might come and tell them like, nah, you probably shouldn't be eating that Indian food because of this, that, and the man. Somebody's gonna bite your head off when it comes to food, because food is the most personal thing. Food is very, very personal to people. Very personal. It's one of the most personal things that there is. People's food and their pleasure, like it's pleasure, like you said, it's pleasurable for people, and it's very, very, very personal.
Yeah.
So I learned that. I didn't realize how important food, how controversial it was. I put it up there with religion and politics. So religion's very, very controversial, right? Like, because there's so many different point of views. Politics is very, very controversial because there's so many points of views, and it's the same thing with food and nutrition. I didn't realize this until I became a nutritionist. It is so controversial because there's so many different points of views when it comes to nutrition, and then it is very, very, very personal.
Right.
Because that's what people do. Everybody eats.
That's right. And there are different zones and the way that people eat and how they eat. And like you said, that is definitely a bone of contention for some people, because just like you said, you don't want people identify with certain foods. And so, yes, when you're talking about, oh, well, that's not good for you, then you're just, but that's my culture. That's how I was raised. Those were the things that are tied to, like you said, my childhood and how I was raised. And so I'm not changing that. What do you mean I have to change that? So yeah, you're definitely right. It is something that is right up there. It is controversial. And so we have to be able to think beyond that. I've been talking to someone recently, and they were talking about mindsets and saying mindset, and I'm saying, it's more of a mind shift, because it's something that's fluid. We have to change the way we're thinking. We're not setting our mind to one thing. There are going to be shifts because things change, and then in nutrition, we know, is one of those things that change constantly, because 1 minute we're told that these things are good for us and eat this and have that and one of these a day, an apple a day, all kinds of things we're hearing, and then we find out, no, don't do that, no, you shouldn't eat this, no, you shouldn't drink that, and there's a lot of confusion that people will say comes with nutrition and the wellness industry in that regard, because there are so many different points of view, and for every positive thing, there's a negative that's right on the back end of that. For every medication that people take, there's a side effect. There's always going to be something to the contrary, and that's where your mind may have to shift, or you have to be open to finding out or learning more about nutrition and what food does when it enters our body. And I think that was one of the reasons why I sought to become a holistic nutritionist, because when I got to a point where I had lost a significant amount of weight, I wanted to understand more what happens when I put certain things in my body. What is the outcome, and what is the importance of realizing that, and when I do certain things, how long do those things stay in my body, and how do they affect my body? So there were a lot of things that a lot of questions that I had that needed to be answered.
Oh yeah.
So I ask you, what was your reason for seeking to become a holistic nutritionist?
Same thing, right? Same thing. Like I told you, like when my mother passed away, I wanted to learn as much as about like I went on my own journey, but 6 months into my journey is when I went to school and got certified in holistic nutrition. And then, like you said, I wanted to learn exactly how the body works, and then how food works with the body to heal someone's chronic health condition, to heal someone's condition. Like, oh, so I really understand the concept now of food is medicine. The food is the medicine, and the medicine is the food. Like, I really understand that. I really grasp that concept now. So, like I said, I help people with diabetes all the time, right? And I just in as little as 2 weeks. As little as 2 weeks, we can drastically change their blood sugar. And as little as 2 weeks to bring it back within range. And as little as 2 weeks, because once you understand how the body works, and once you understand the food that works, how food works with the body, you don't need long. Your body's going to heal. Your body, here's the one thing about your body, and people underestimate it. People underestimate how quickly their body can heal. They underestimate how quickly their body wants to heal. They underestimate how quickly their body needs to heal. Because one thing about a human being, even though you're a human being, you have all of these pleasures and all that. We got all this pleasures and all this stuff in the world. At the end of the day, your body doesn't care about all these different pleasures and all that stuff. Your body cares about two things. Number one is to survive. that's the number one thing that it cares about. It don't care about nothing else but surviving. And then number two thing is to thrive. It is to survive, not only to survive, but to thrive. So when I tell people, you underestimate how quickly your body wants to heal, because those are the two things that it wants to do over anything. No holds barred. You pull back the layers. It wants to survive, and it wants to survive. It wants to thrive. And you don't believe me that it wants to survive? Go jump into a pool and see how long you can hold your breath.
That's right. Eventually your body's gonna be like, wait a minute, I need to get out of here. This is not a normal environment for me. I love that you say that, because that's true. The body does. It wants to survive, and it wants to thrive. I think about when we get any type of injury, how our skin rejuvenates itself. Our bodies are a beast.
Your body's a monster.
That's it. And it's always, it knows when something is a foreign object in its body, and it tries to, and it sends those white blood cells to try to say, okay, something is going on. I need healing. There's pain. There's something that's going on. Our body is constantly giving us signals and indications that something is going wrong. And it's up to us to make sure that we answer the call. Just like when we see our check engine light.
I was about to say the check engine light.
Anything, something comes on, and the first thing that we go, something is wrong. And do we heed the call? If the light comes on saying we need gas, do we heed the call, or do we wait until the gas runs out, or do we wait until the car blows up, or it just shuts down? It's the same thing with our bodies. Our bodies are constantly giving us indicators that something may be wrong, and we just have to be in tune enough with our bodies to realize it when it happens, and to be in a position to do something about it.
You're absolutely right. When that check engine light comes on in the car, what's the first thing you do? You pull on the Firestone immediately. You like, okay, check engine light. You there? Like, you there fast when that check engine light comes on.
Do a diagnostic, but we are not the same way when it comes to our health. Sometimes we don't sit there. We need to be making those appointments. And that's something when we talk about men's health, and we talk about, making sure that we're checking in with ourselves. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some things that from the male perspective, do you think are important for men to do, when it comes to their health and really, answering the call when those signals come?
Go get your blood work done. Go get your blood work done and look at your numbers, right? Look at your numbers and find out where they are. Like, what is what is your cholesterol? Sometimes cholesterol can be subjective, right? But you also want to look at, because there's different types of cholesterols. But look at your blood sugar, right? Look at your A1C. How's your A1C? And A1C is the number one indicator that tells you basically how long you're gonna live. That is probably the number one test that you can take. There's a more test, but is a very, very, I'll put it to you this way. The higher your A1C is, the lower your life expectancy. Mm-hmm. The lower your A1C, say like closer to like a 5 where it's supposed to be, the higher your life expectancy. And it's a little teeter-totter like that. Right. So when I have my clients, right, my clients, and they'll tell me that, hey, my A1C went from a 10, like someone the other day after I joined your program, my A1C went from a 10.8, now it's at a 5.1.
That's right.
I said, do you realize what you just did by taking your A1C from a 10.8 down to a 5.1? Right. You just added so many years back to your life.
That's right.
So many years. I ain't talking about a handful of years. I'm talking about decades.
Right.
Decades back to your life by taking your A1C from a 10.8 down to a 5.1. You added 30, 40, 30. I don't, they're young, right? Say right. They're in their 50s, right? So instead of you passing away at the age of 65, probably 70, if you make it that far, now you're living into your 80s and 90s.
Right.
Because you took your A1C down from a 10.8 down to a 5.
Right.
That's how that's how important an A1C is.
Yeah. And it's something, like you said, that can change in a matter of months. They
can change in a matter of weeks.
Right. You can change. I'm talking about when you're going back and seeing a doctor, like if you're going to annual physical, or you're going every 3 months. It's amazing how that number can change, which is, like you said, it can change in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And it's important that people take it. Now sometimes especially when it comes to men, they're least likely to go to the doctor or to get those physical exams. And I think it's important that we let them know how important it is to tap into your health, to be aware of what your numbers are, like you're saying, said that way you can better come up with reasons as to why you need to do that. Sometimes, they won't go to the doctor because they don't want to hear something that they already know, because the symptoms may be there and they don't want that confirmation.
So it's funny you say that, because I was at a show people tell me every day now, but I was at a show. I was doing a show. It was like a trade show. And we were talking, I was talking to a gentleman, and he says, man, just like you just said, he's like, man, I'm afraid to go to the doctor because I feel like it's just going to be bad news on repeat. I'm afraid of the bad news. So I don't want to go. So I just don't go. I just don't go because I don't want to hear the number. You know what I mean? So I said, man, that's real. That's real. That you don't want to go because you don't want to know what the number is.
Right.
But I say, hey, you gotta, even though you don't want to know what the number is, you gotta go. If you care about your health, you gotta know, because you gotta face it. You gotta face it head on. If you don't face it head on, if you try to just sweep it up under the rug, hey, you could be here one day and gone the next day. Or not even the next day. You could be here today, gone the day.
Right.
You could be here today, gone today. Right. Like me, for instance, like I felt like I was going to have a heart attack some years when I had my condition. I felt like every day or every other day, I felt like I was seriously going to have a heart attack.
Wow.
Like that's how I felt. That was the heart palpitation, because I had heart disease. That was the heart palpitations I was having, and it felt like. So I go to the doctor, but you know what I mean. It wasn't really a big deal until my mother passed away. When she passed away, then I saw the gravity of it. Like, oh no, this is real. Yes, this is not a joke.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I would encourage men to do. I would encourage men to say, even though you don't want to do it, you got to go find out what it is. So at least you have a starting point now. So now you got a starting point. Okay, now I know my numbers here. Now I know what I got to do. Kelley's been telling me, like, hey, listen, you can change yourself in a matter of weeks. Like you can change. If you see my numbers, like I just did my 14-day challenge. I have what's called the 14-day challenge for my type 2 diabetics. And I did the 14-day challenge myself, right? This right here. I just did it recently myself. I did it myself, even though I'm the creator of it. I did it myself because it's been a while since I did it. And when I did it in 14 days, all my numbers changed drastically, right? Like I lost 5% body fat in 14 days. I lost 5% body fat. That's in 14 days. All of my numbers improved. Like I got the thing here, you know, you go to the, and they do like the DEXA scan on you, like all my muscle increase in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, all by changing what I was eating, like focusing on, instead of kind of just like being willy, even though I'm a nutritionist, just like you were saying, I'm not always perfect. So I decided, you know what, this week, this 2 weeks, I'm going to go 2 weeks and I'm going to do this thing, how I designed it, how I give to my clients. I'm going to do it and then see what the results are. And the results are just like they get incredible results. And as little as, because that's how quickly your body wants to heal. I promise you, your body is one healing. People underestimate how quickly their body can heal. It can heal in a matter of days, weeks, if you give it the right tools.
That's it. Like you said, it's all about tools. It's all about tools. So, you know, as we're wrapping things up, because like I said, it's so important that, you know, as we're talking about men's health, that we understand the importance of realizing that it's not just, you know, it's not something that's going to be perfect, but we definitely have to take the steps. It starts with education. It starts with understanding, you know, our bodies and where we're at, so that way we can know where we're going, you know. And I'm sure that in this microwave society where everything, people want things instantly, it's good to hear that, you know, with just a few tools, we can change the trajectory of our health, you know, for the better, and just continue in the process. So again, just recap, just a few steps that, you know, some of our male listeners can take as they're, you know, either continuing on their wellness journey or looking to start one.
Yeah, number one thing is go get yourself an A1C test. Get yourself an A1C test to find out where you're staying. I mean, if they can do the whole panel, but that number, that A1C number, is going to be the most important thing. And just realize that for you to heal, for men, you know, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of erectile dysfunction, all kinds of stuff, right? For you to heal that, it starts with one thing, and it starts with your lifestyle. It's four areas. It's an acronym, right? PACE, maintain your pace. P.A.C.E. P.A.C.E. The P stands for peaceful mind. Have a peaceful mind. Learn how to manage your stress. That's the first, that's the P, peaceful mind. Learn how to manage your stress, because stress is a monster. Number 2 is the A, that's active body. Have an active body. So peaceful mind, active body. And then the C, which is probably the most important pillar, is clean eating. Clean eating is the most important pillar. Do you have to be perfect? No, you don't have to be perfect. But it's about what you do most of the time that matters the most.
Right.
And then the last area is the E, which is effective sleep. Those are the 4 areas. So maintain your pace. Just maintain your pace every day. Peaceful mind, active body, clean eating, effective sleep. Just maintain. You wake up the next day, I got to maintain my pace. Have a peaceful mind, have an active body, clean eating, effective sleep. Wake up the next day, I got to maintain my pace. Peaceful mind, active. Just keep on doing that. Yeah, I got to maintain my pace. So you just do that little simple concept right there. Start off with your A1C, and then just continue to maintain your pace. And then you'll be surprised at what happens to your body. And what happens to your mind, your body, your spirit, like we talked about the mind, but you'll be surprised at what your body can do. Because even your brain, like you talked about, even your brain they're made up of cells. Your brain is made up of what you think about that's all cells. So you can reprogram your brain. You can reprogram all of your cells, all 40 trillion of them. You can retrain them.
That's right. That's right. I love that. Make sure that you keep the pace.
Maintain your pace.
Maintain your pace. All right. Well, Kelley, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for being here, for sharing some insights and some things that we can do to, you know, assist us in our wellness habit. And like you said, a lot of the things that we talked about are not just for men, but for everyone. You know, there are certain things that you know, there are always going to be outliers, but the biggest thing, like you said, is to keep the peace. I mean, keep the pace.
Maintain your pace.
Mind, active body, clean eating, and effective sleep. And
That's
then,
it.
like I said, they'll be on their way. All
They'll
right.
be
And
on
so
their way.
if all of the things that you've heard are of interest to you, if you're interested in learning more about the products and services that Kelley has available, across the bottom of the screen has been his website, which is unbottledwellness.com. Make sure that you check him out. And, if you're seeking accountability, if you're looking for ways in which to, start or maintain your wellness habit, make sure that you reach out to Kelley. All right, before we go, Kelley, are there any other parting words that you want to leave with our listeners before we go?
I think we hit it all. We gave him enough already. Like I said, maintain your pace. Maintain your pace. Right? Yeah.
Maintain your pace.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, well, thank you for being with me. You're always welcome back on the How Now podcast. You are part of the How Now podcast family. So I'm sure that our listeners will have an opportunity to hear from you soon, or they can go back onto hownowpodcast.com and check out one of the previous shows, or find the show that you were featured in when you were a guest on the show before. But we're always looking for ways to improve our mind, body, and spirit. And with that, I'm going to say that'll do it for the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until I see you all the next time, I say peace.